In today's video, we are going to understand that how to play Elephant Gambit and how not to play Elephant Gambit. Although this opening is rarely seen on the top level or even on the 2600 or 2500 Grandmaster level, but still some of the players play it. And the Grandmasters usually use it in blitz tournaments or rapid tournaments to surprise their opponent. So let's start with this video. E4, E5, knight f3, and this move d5, it is start of the elephant camp. Whereas the standard moves over here are, which goes back to another line, and that is knight c6, bishop c4, and this goes into another variation. So we will stick to our main line, and that is d5 into d5, e4, and queen e2. These are all the standard replies. Knight f6, and there are many games even played at very highest level, but they have been played in blitz tournaments usually. MVL has placed it. His son Bagami. Nowadays he is a grandmaster from Egypt, and now he plays from America. He has used it. So we go over game. Knight c3, the standard move. Bishop e7, knight into e4, knight into d5, and d3. As this is the standard line of this continuation, elephant gambit. But instead of here, there is another option, that is knight c3, bringing back the knight over here. After that, knight c6, knight into d5, queen into d5, c3, going to play this pawn, d4, and controlling these squares permanently. The e5 square and the c5 square in black's territory. After that, black would go for with castle, then d4, same, rook e8, and bishop e3. As rook was pinning the queen to the king, so bishop e3 was played, and bishop d6. These are the one type of the continuations which black would opt for. So in the game, d3 was played, which is considered to be a opening line, one of the lines. After that, castle, queen d1, and knight c6. Instead of here, it was better to play the move c5 first, then playing this move to knight c6, controlling this square in the white strategy, this t4 square, and then fight for it. For example, the game may continue like this: bishop e2, knight c6, now developing the knight, castle, bishop f5, bishop d2. In these types of position, you have to think, or to give it think, that should I protect this knight, bring this knight to g3, or should it will be better that if black takes this knight? It would be better that if black takes this knight and white takes it, obviously with pawn on d3, then these pawns would be connected on the king side, and this d file will be opened, and this will be suitable for white. And this pawn over here, after bishop takes this knight and pawn takes d3 takes e4, then this e4 would be controlling these squares, these two squares, d5 and f5, and this knight could not be placed over here. So due to this reason, black did not take this knight. Bishop d2, h6, and a3. This might be one of the continuations if black plays c5 first, and then knight c6. But black played the move knight c6 immediately. After that, bishop e2 and rook e8, and this developing move is actually a blunder. Instead of it was better for black to go with the move f5, immediately hitting this knight on the center. After knight c3, g5. This game becomes very sharp and very aggressive, and these kings get open. I think that black did not like this position, because after d4, then they move g4, g4, bishop c4, bishop e6, knight e5, king h8. You can see that this is a complete mess on the board. A very sharp position, and I think black did not wanted this, so he went for king e8. Castle was played, f5 was now played, and knight c3 was played. Instead of it, it was now better to play the move knight g3, and after bishop to d6, then d4, controlling these squares in the black strategy, e5 and c5. And after that, knight b6 and rook e1. Now black's pieces has perspectives. They are all attacking on the queen side. So after knight c3, black plays bishop a6, and this was the obvious move. After this move, now black has lost. In fact, it was better to play the move knight into c3 over here, b into c3, bishop e6, d4, bishop f6, a4, and h6. Now you may see that why black's position is not better, because this bishop has, what is it doing? It is struck by these pawns over here on this diagonal. This bishop is doing something, but the light squares around the king have been opened, and also the dark squares, and black king has become weak. This knight of black's knight is doing nothing, because this square on n5 and c5 has been covered, and this square on b4 has been covered, whereas white pieces are very active. This bishop will come over here and eye this diagonal, a3, f8 diagonal. This knight has a perspective. It may move over here, it may come back to e1 and then to d3 and eye this square. This bishop has a future, and it could move to d3. So overall, white's position is better instead of black's position. So in the game, bishop f6 was played. After that, knight into d5, queen into d5, c3, b6, and d4. Computer says it's a obvious move, but this suggestion it gives is roundabout equal, and that one is bishop g5. Immediately asking black that I am going to exchange this bishop. And after bishop into g5, knight into g5, h6, and bishop over here, bishop f3, controlling this diagonal, queen d7, queen b3 check, king h8, and queen d5. And black is really very difficult for black. It is to hold this knight, to hold this piece over here. Yeah, this was also better. So after in the game d4, black plays the move bishop b7 and knight e1. Instead of it, it was better to immediately develop your rook to e1. Then after the move like knight a5, bishop f, bishop f1, challenging this e file, rook into e1, queen into e1, queen f7. This was also a good position, and the move played in the game was also better. After knight e1, queen d6, knight d3, bishop into d4. I analyzed this position in a great depth, and even the computer gives the move that bishop into d4 is only the survival. But after that, I found a way that here it was, instead of bishop into d4, it was better to play the move knight e7. And after knight e7, bishop f4, challenging this queen on this d6 square and eyeing this diagonal bishop. Queen d7, knight e5, bishop into e5, bishop into e5, knight g6, queen b3 check, bishop d5, bishop c4 and c6. I think black has the chances to survive this game. But after this move, black loses a piece for 2 pawns. So c into d4, knight into d4, hitting this bishop over here. Black calculated that when I am going to take this pawn over here and c into d and knight into d4, then this bishop will be attacked twice, and this bishop has only one square, and that is h5, and he will stop that by playing the move g6. But he missed the move, the continuation. What he missed was this move bishop f4, hitting this queen. So let's go with our game. C into d4, knight into d4, hitting this bishop, bishop h5, g6. It was a w's move. Instead of it, rook e4 was better over here. Bishop f4, rook into f4, knight into f4, and queen into f4, giving up the exchange and still be in the fight. It was better for black to go into this type of continuation. But he played the move g6, which he had planned already. Then this move bishop f5, f4, and now this bishop could be saved. Queen f6, bishop f3, bishop into f3, g into f3, and knight into e2 check. Instead of it, c5 was a better try, but after bishop e3, you can't keep this knight over here, and still you are a piece down for nothing. For just one pawn you are a piece down. So this position for black is actually a lost one. King h1 was played, rook a d8, bishop e3 was played. Instead of it, immediately asking this knight to go or to exchange the pieces, because white is a piece up, so he should exchange the pieces. After that, knight into f4, rook into e8 check, rook into e8, and knight into f4. When you are a piece up, try to exchange the pieces. Make the game simple. So after bishop e3, the further game does not require any type of further main comments, because after around about 5 to 6 moves, black resigned. So here black played knight d4, bishop into d4, rook into d4, queen b3 check, king g7, rook e1, challenging this rook. First, rook ed8 and knight e5, rook h4, queen c3, pinning this queen to king. c5 was played, rook d1, challenging this rook. Rook dd4, rook into d4, c into d4, queen c7 check, king h6, rook g1 was played, controlling this line. And now this knight f7 check will end the game. d3 was played and knight f7 check, and black is lost. So in the game you have understood that when you are playing this gambit, you should understand the opening moves and you should have studied them and memorized them. The knight into d5, d3 was played. Instead of it, it is better for the knight to come to c3. And after knight c6, knight into d5, queen into d5, and then c3. Saying that I am going to take these squares. So go back to our game. d3 it was played, castle, queen d1, and knight c6. Always remember that you are not going to develop the knight directly, knight to c6. Instead of it, you are going to play this move c5 and control the square first, this d4 square. Then you are going to play the move knight c6 with black, like this: c5, bishop e2, and knight c6. This is the way to develop this knight on b8. This is not the way to develop the knight immediately in front of your pawn c7. Instead, what you are going to do, you are going to play the move c5 first, then knight up, then knight c6. This is the way. And after castle, white castle's bishop f5 immediately hit this knight over here. Bishop d2 and h6. A room for the king and this bishop. And after bishop e2, after knight c6 and bishop e2, rook e8. This is the W's move. If you are playing sharp position, then play sharp. This is a very sharp opening, elephant gambit. Then why you are going to play passive when you are playing a sharp opening? So instead of it, go for the f5 attack. After knight c3, g5. I have played the elephant gambit. I am going to attack. After d4, g4. Bishop c4, bishop e6. Knight e5, king h8. Castle, knight into e5. Bishop into d5, bishop into d5, d into e5. You have two bishops. And he has one knight and bishop. And bishops are strong, you know that. So when you are playing sharp lines, do not play passive moves. So you might have understood the concepts behind elephant gambit. And this was the end of the video. If you liked it, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you very much.